This is the craziest story in the history of animal rights. Like, we won?
Welcome to the Hen Report. This is Jasmin Singer.
This is Mariann Sullivan.
And we're so excited that you're here today. This is our hen house sort of umbrella. Every time we do a show now, I'm just going to use another bad metaphor, whether it's the universe or umbrellas or whatever. But in any case, we're glad you're here because Rising Anxieties comes out on Tuesdays, the Hen Report on Thursdays, the long form interview on Fridays, and bonus for Flock members comes out on Mondays. We're on YouTube. We're also on every podcatcher that you listen to. So please hit like and subscribe wherever you can. So we finally saw Wicked. And
Finally. We're the only two people left.
On Thanksgiving. And I loved seeing it on Thanksgiving. Not only was the theater on the empty side, but Thanksgiving is always hard when you're vegan and you know that so many people are just centering an entire event around a dead animal. But
I feel like I've gotten past that. I mean, obviously for most people, they have to go somewhere where there's a dead bird, and then I wouldn't be past it. But I just, I enjoy Thanksgiving. I don't think about the fact that this is a particular celebration of killing animals. I mean, they all go out there and kill animals every day, and whether it's a celebration or not. So I think you need to own Thanksgiving. But one way to own it is to go see a great movie
about animal liberation. It's so funny. So I know we've been talking about Wicked far, far before the movie was even a glimmer in Ariana Grande's eyes, because we saw it on Broadway I saw it so many times on Broadway, and
I
obviously
only saw it once. I'm not nearly as much of a Wicked aficionado.
Well, I'm not even sure I'm like the biggest fan in the world. I just, for some reason, tickets always landed on my lap to see the play. But it's like a manifesto about animal rights, as we've discussed. And
I think the movie was even more than the play, and I think the second movie was even more than the first.
Yeah, 100%. But so the funny thing is, I get a text from someone the other day, and she's like, "Do you think this person's vegan?" And she hasn't seen it, and she goes, "So is Wicked like animal rightsy?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, like totally." And she was like, "Oh, because a friend of mine saw it and said it wasn't." The friend of hers
that's what I'm hearing.
No, but hang on. The friend of hers is also vegan, and so I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, here's the plot. It's about a woman who liberates animals and is then misunderstood and objectified for it. Meanwhile, society sort of starts to commodify and exploit these animals, and we're trying to get them liberated." I'm like, this is not my interpretation. This is the plot.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Plot.
It's the actual plot. What? Like, I don't understand.
Like, how can anybody not get it? Is it because the animals can talk? And so they say, well, those aren't real animals. They're standing in for somebody else. I don't know. I don't know. But maybe. It's totally about animals.
So were you happy with, did you love it?
Yeah. It was pretty dark. I mean, both actually, figuratively and literally, it was just dark. But, darker than the first one. It didn't have as many light moments.
Agreed.
But I thought they served the story really, really well. I loved it.
Me too. I loved it.
And it was like, it was about animals mostly. It was also about women and women friendships and the power they have in the world. I thought it was totally about authoritarianism.
Yeah.
And the fact that the wizard he sings that song, Jeff Goldblum, that he just kind of fell into being an authoritarian because everybody just started doing what he wanted them to do. Like, that rings a bell.
Yeah, totally. It's been an interesting week for taking in media that sort of has vegan themes, whether explicitly or not. I watched the new show Pluribus on Apple TV.
I haven't seen it yet, so you're gonna have to tell me what the story is.
Well, it's basically about there's this sort of, I will say, alien invasion, basically, where everyone is sort of forced, everyone on Earth is forced into a collective conscience and through what is more or less like
Conscience or consciousness?
consciousness. Thank you. And basically, it's through like a DNA strain that aliens put
Right.
into humans. And for some reason, 11 people on the planet that they know of are immune to this. So there's 11 people who are just like going about their lives, and everyone around them is basically sharing a consciousness. And the vegan theme, in my opinion, comes in the sense that the consciousness, like from the people, we'll call it, is vegan, and it's based around nonviolence. And so there's this scene at a dinner table where they kind of fly in multiple people from the group of 11 who uh, are immune to this disease, I'll call it, and they're talking about eating, and the folks with the shared consciousness say that they won't kill animals because it's against their worldview and their belief. And one of the people who did not succumb to this disease was basically like, so what if I want, a steak for dinner kind of thing? And they're like, well, there's a lot of, stored meat still that we have to go through. So, we would make it from that. And he's like, well, once we're through all of that, then when? And they're like, well, we don't kill. And he said, well, what if I go and kill? It was so bizarre.
So
This
who are the good guys and who are the bad guys in this
Yes,
story?
that's the question. I mean, in my opinion, the good guys are the ones with the shared consciousness because they're the ones with the vegan ethic. But there's obviously other layers to the story, and
Oh,
act
that's
1.
crazy. That's crazy. I don't know whether
Yeah.
I want to watch it. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean,
I
I
should
loved
watch
it.
it. It sounds useful,
It's
but I'm not sure
amazing, it's
it's my.
really well done. But this is funny because something else happened recently where I read a book just because I wanted to read something stupid and or, just not stupid,
Yeah,
but
light.
light, yeah, and so I read this, kind of rom-com type of light novel called Bed and Breakfast by Susie Dumond, and it's lesbian-y, so that's why I read it. But so, like, within the first moment in the book, it becomes clear that it's about a vegan chef, like a lesbian
Oh,
vegan chef.
and you just happened upon it by
Just happened
accident?
upon it.
That's
And so
cool.
then so the whole book, I'm, like, waiting for the veganism to be, like, a butt of a joke, but it never is. It's always
Wow.
about, like, thinking in new ways and trying new foods and, like, having these and they describe the foods in it, and they all sound amazing, and I sort of wonder if this author is vegan, Susie Dumont, because if she's not, I'm very perplexed, but I mean, it's a very sweet, cute read, by the way. It was a really good book, not at all stupid, like, when I said
Nice.
I wanted to read something stupid, I just meant I didn't
You
wanna
know
read
what?
headlines.
I might read that.
Yeah, you should totally read it. It's cute, it's super cute. So what about you? Have you taken in any
All I do is watch the news on YouTube.
right, as we
I don't
know?
know why. I'm making myself insane.
Mhm, we
But
know.
the thing I wanted to talk about specific, I mean, it's very little of it is about animals. It's just about the nightmare. And so I watch Heather Cox Richardson all the time. I don't know whether any of you, probably some of you, are watching. Maybe not all of you. I don't know. I love her. She is keeping me sane through the insanity. I get so much information, but she always conveys it in a hopeful way and in a historical context. So I'm watching it. She does this show with this other history. She's a history professor, which this other
Mhm.
history professor whose name I can't remember. Um, and who the other professor has a pet bird, and you can hear the pet bird in the background. And Heather Cox and Richardson says, "Well, maybe he's upset because we're talking about eating turkeys, and those are birds." And then they both laugh hysterically. I
Oh,
mean, this
not
is
the laugh.
the laugh, like that
No.
laugh that I interpret as uncomfortable because it's not fun. I mean, nothing funny got said. Like, so, laughter covers a lot of emotions, and I think it's a discomfort. But, maybe I'm just telling myself that. But it was just depressing. Like I mean, she's keeping me sane. This woman. And I mean, also her husband apparently is a lobster fisherman. So there's that too.
Wow, yeah. I kind of had something like that. My play opens this week, where I'm playing Judy Garland, and I follow all these Judy Garland things on Facebook. And there was one that was like the Judy Garland experience or something. And I'm really into what they post because they post these like gems from Judy Garland's life. And on Thanksgiving, they posted something that said, something like, for once, we're not going to be just staring at Judy Garland. We're going to be staring at that terrified turkey or something. And then they wrote a little smiley face. And it was kind of the same thing as what you just described. And also, I was like, don't muddy my safe space.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's so many ways we could look at those smiles and those laughs as progress, as
Well, I mean, you
discomfort,
gotta
rising
like I said, you
anxieties.
gotta figure there's some kind of discomfort because they didn't say anything funny. Like,
Yeah, but and then they
so why
laugh.
else would they be laughing other than to cover for themselves, not to disguise it, but to cover their own sense of discomfort.
Uh-huh.
That this must be funny because if it's not funny, it's really awful. You know what? It's really awful.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to talking about some of the stories that we were going to chat about
Yeah,
this week.
and don't forget that we have a couple of shout outs. Do you want to do them now or do you want to do them later?
Let's do them later.
All right, but don't forget.
I won't. I have it open.
All right. The first story I wanted to talk about is actually just a piece of activism that people could get involved in. The EU apparently is doing a public consultation on animal welfare, and this is an action alert from Anima International, and they're really opening it up to people's thoughts about how they should be changed. And we often talk about the fact that EU laws are better than ours here in the U.S., but they're still absolutely abysmal. So I will put the link in the show notes, and or you can just go to animainternational.org. And they're not. They want public participation. They want public comments, and they're not just asking it from Europe. It's from anywhere. So if you feel like taking a quick armchair piece of activism, I would suggest that one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And also, we have an interview coming up with Neil Dulligan, I think on the Animal Law podcast, who's going to be talking about farmed animal welfare in the EU. So that might be an
Right.
interesting thing to
Right.
bring up as well. Cool.
All right. This other article is really creepy. It really upset me. But this is probably something that people have heard of. I don't know because I don't pay attention to anything, I guess. This is from TNR, which is the New Republic. The New Republic. Um, the internet loves these quote gay sheep. The real story is much darker. Apparently, there's this thing being going on that's been, I guess, on Instagram with this fashion show and all of the wool. There's all these different outfits in wool, and they were taken from gay sheep. But these are sheep, male sheep, who have been rescued because they are drawn more to their male friends than to female goats.
Oh my God.
And so the gay, like, there's this whole gay thing about how great this is, and then they were rescued, and they did this really cute thing on Grinder, put on "I Will Survive," a runway fashion show, and the swimmer wearing stars and stripes speedos made out of the wool, a mechanic.
Oh
So
my
all of this is just like fucking cute and trying to show that even sheep can be gay, just like us, and totally
Oh
and
my God.
completely ignoring everything that happens to sheep and lambs, that gay rams who don't breed with ewes generally, they're just killed. So these happen to have been rescued. Doesn't mean they're all rescued because the rest, just very, very disturbing. I am very glad for this article, which points this all out. But, people have just got to stop this cutesy thing. Like, it just makes me crazy. It's just using these animals in this
Unreal.
horrible way.
I,
Yeah, that
I'm
was a bad one. All right, let's move on.
That's a bad one. I mean, it makes me think of all of those articles that I wrote when I was like 20 years ago on animal rights and gay rights and the overlaps between the liberation movements, but also the exploitation. And This is disgusting. I'm horrified. Let's move on.
All right, let's get some good news.
Yes, please.
This from Lady Freethinker. This is a great story from the Netherlands. The Dutch Senate has voted to phase out public funding for primate experiments at Europe's largest primate lab. That's $12.5 million a year that will go towards human-focused research. So that's really nice. But wait till you hear of the story that goes with it. I don't even know what to make of this. It's crazy. This is from Science, science.org. Exclusive. CDC to end all monkey research. All right, this is from November 21st. So I don't know whether it's, whether this is still going on, but get that title again. CDC to end all monkey research. Studies related to HIV and other infectious diseases will be phased out, sources say. Fate of the agency's animals remains unclear. Okay, this is like the dream come true. They're getting rid of, I mean, do you know how many monkeys like they finance research on? And all right, so I'm just going to read the first paragraph. Scientists at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have been told to phase out all of their monkey research. The directive, communicated to CDC staff by former Department of Governmental Efficiency, that's DOGE, employee and recent college graduate who is now a top official at the agency, will end studies on approximately 200 macaques. Oh, I thought it was more than that. The fate of the animals, largely used in work on HIV prevention, is unclear. Some may be transferred to primate sanctuaries, others may be euthanized. So this is the kind of story, like, talk about your strange bedfellows. This is these, Doge lunatics who came in. They're like kids. They destroyed the federal government. Apparently, one of them was this guy, Sam Beta, and he was recently named CDC's deputy chief of staff. He's right out of college. He didn't major in science. He did graduate from Columbia, so he's probably reasonably bright. And and I don't know what his goals are. I don't know what his aims are, but hooray! I think.
Wow.
Like,
I
I
am
mean, of
getting
course, this could backfire horribly. Like if they're actually looking into sanctuary for these animals. All the scientists are completely freaked out. Even the people at White Coast Waste, well, they're not freaked out, but they're like surprised that all this happened so fast. Uh, um, they cheer the decision. Quote, "This is exceeding our expectations," said Justin Goodman. No shit. So they don't know what they're going to do with the monkeys, but as I said, they're looking into this peaceable primate sanctuary, which is one of the largest monkey refuges in North America. And they're like, he wanted to, according to the guy at the sanctuary, he wanted to know how many monkeys we could take immediately and whether it would be possible to retire all of them within a year. Of course, they would need money in order to do that. Costs money to take care of animals. So this is the craziest story in the history of animal rights. Like, we won. I mean, of course, it could backfire in the sense that they'll save all these animals and then they'll just start again with a whole new tranche of animals, or the administration will change. Which now am I supposed to be hoping for the administration not to change? The world is nuts.
I'm getting serious whiplash today on our hen house. Like, that story is,
Yeah, that story is crazy.
yeah.
All right, one more piece of good news. Poland's president signs fur farming ban into law. Poland has apparently a lot of fur farms. It's the world's second largest fur farming nation, and now it's the 18th EU country to end fur farming. It will be phased out, but there are actually going to be incentives given to because it will go into effect immediately for no new farms, or within 14 days, virtually immediately. But there are already 200 fur farms, so they have until 2034 to close, but they're going to be given incentives to close earlier than that. So that's a lovely piece of news. God,
Yeah.
doesn't it, like, that the fact that they're still doing that is
Yeah.
just so crazy.
No,
All right,
I,
those are our news articles. And there's this one article that I really wanted to talk about.
well, can I just say real quick? I think I've mentioned this before, but it's good to hold on to how much of a collective shift there has been societally about fur, because I mean, in like our time as activists, as animal activists, and it's good to hold on to that because it kind of happens quietly. like over time. There's not always a big moment. There's not always a big
I
like
think it's very easy for us to think that we're in exactly the same place we were at 20 years ago, and
you,
we are really not.
you
We
know, it makes me think of this song from a musical called Flora
Are
the
you going
Red
to
Men.
break into song now?
No, I'm not. I'm too tired. But there's this song from Flora the Red Menace, which I was in college. It's a great musical. And there's this line in it that goes, "When it all comes true, just the way you planned, it's funny, but the bells don't ring. It's a quiet thing." And sometimes that's how activism wins happen. Sometimes it's a
Well,
quiet thing.
we haven't won yet, but we have made real progress.
I just mean this I think if you look at the societal views on fur, I think we've won. I do. I mean, you're
Well,
right.
I
It
mean, we
still
haven't won in the
exists.
sense that we haven't gotten all the animals out,
That's true.
but
That's true.
there has been the shift is in motion, and
Mhm.
I think maybe the point you're making, and I think you might be right, is that now it's inevitable. It's just a matter of playing out
Yeah.
the sad denouement until it's
Exactly.
over, and then it's over.
Let's talk about this article that you wanted to chat about. It was very interesting. This is as reported by Plant Based News, though it's about Dr. Gemma Newman's talk on why people seem to hate vegans and what to do about it. Why did this strike you so much?
I don't know. I thought that the way she articulated it was pretty good.
I did too. Yeah.
Um, all right, so she is apparently a senior partner at a family medical practice, so she actually practices medicine, and she also is the author of The Plant Powered Doctor. And she did this video to Facebook in which she talked about all of this, and she talked about the symbolic threat that vegans present to meat eating identities, and how vegans and omnivores alike can overcome negative perceptions. And I mean, I think it does present a threat. I think it's a good way to think of it. It does present a threat to vegans. I'll just read what she says, so it's easier than me trying to
Mhm.
paraphrase it. Vegans don't just pose a threat to our identities as moral people. And she's saying that's not all, but that definitely is part of it. They also pose what researchers call a symbolic threat to group identities, cherished traditions, cultural values, and social norms. Now, some of that is obviously stuff we already know, that, people are always bringing up traditions. And, like you always say, if you can't bear to give up your mother's brisket on Hanukkah, like, then eat your mother's brisket on Hanukkah and give up all the other stuff. You don't have to use it as an excuse. But I also think that this threat to our people's identities as moral people is really significant. And I feel like here these are the words that people associate with vegans. Some of them are really good: caring, committed, empathic, dedicated. And then it shifts into annoying, self-righteous, judgmental, arrogant. And that self-righteous thing, it's like we've always said, like, how do you avoid being self-righteous when you actually think you're right? And don't most people think they're right? And if they didn't, wouldn't they change their minds? It is a moral stance. It's a moral
Y-
stance. It can't help it. I think it's immoral to do what they do to animals, and I don't think that's just a message of changing your messaging.
You're making me think of another theater reference. Sorry, but I'm a little focused on theater this week. But when we were talking backstage about crying on stage, and we were talking about like how people do it and if it's easy or not, and I said, it's something that I struggle with. I can get there, but it takes me a while. Whereas one of the actors in the play, like he could just cry like that, and I said I'm really envious of that, because it's really hard for me to get there. And he said, I'm really surprised to hear that, given how empathic you are. And I was like, so interesting. Like he goes, "You're so sensitive and empathic, and it's like how you show up in your life and this and that." And I I'm a little perplexed by the fact that that's how I'm seen,
Do you
and
think it's
yet
because he knows you're vegan?
yeah, 100%, 100%. And I'm a little perplexed by the fact that, like, that's how I'm seen, and yet they're still okay eating animals? Like, I don't quite know how to put it, but if you see someone as empathic and sensitive and and kind, which is how I was described, which is very sweet, then wouldn't you want to also be empathic and sensitive and kind? Like, wouldn't you want to also do what you can to not contribute to the
But
suffering of
maybe like
animals?
empathic is kind of a interesting word because it's
Mhm.
not kind. I mean, it's not the same thing as kind.
Right.
Empathic is kind of like an emotional thing. So like you have this emotional thing, so that makes you act like this. Like you wouldn't want to see a scary movie or it's not focusing on the harm that you're against. It's focusing on your reaction. And so if they don't have that reaction, they're just different people.
So, do you think that the reason it's harder for me to cry on stage than this particular actor is because I've become deadened to the human race and to I
Might
have
be
to
a little straight.
compartmentalize. I have
Maybe
to
a little
compart
strong.
I have to compartmentalize
I mean, I just
everything
think some
so
people have a
well.
harder time crying than other people.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I really genuinely do envy him. Like, I wish I could just
Another
do it.
interesting another interesting line in this article is while omnivores anticipate being judged by vegans, Newman noted that vegans also anticipate being seen as judgmental. And she added this preemptive defensiveness makes meaningful communication challenging and called for empathy and understanding on both sides. Well, I think that we've got, but I think that that happens a lot. I think that we're worried about being seen as judgmental. And I think actually we may overreact a little too empathically by taking care of the person we're talking to rather than being honest about what's happening to the animals. We act more like it's a personal choice or
Yeah.
we don't want to be seen as the person who's judging. I mean, I
Yeah.
think the only way to deal with it from my point of view is to just constantly center the animals. They want it to be about you.
I was
They,
just about to say regarding this article, it's a very human-centric article. I mean, it's very much or the whole story of this is very much about like vegans as the oppressed as opposed to animals as the oppressed. And I could care less if vegans are
exactly.
oppressed.
Exactly. I think that people get too focused on the vegan movement and representing
Yeah,
vegans and representing veganism. It's just keep it about the animals, and that way you can forget about yourself. And
exactly.
hopefully you can get them to forget about you and to think about the animals. So that's somewhat of a harder lift.
Mhm, mhm. Well, as always, we'll link to this in our show notes. And I will go to those announcements now that we were chatting about earlier. We have 2 shout outs when people are making donations to our hen house at certain levels. Then we do offer the opportunity to have us shout out an organization of their choice. And we've actually learned about some really fantastic organizations and efforts this way, which I greatly enjoy. But anyway, so one of them is and this was a shout out last year as well, the New Hampshire Animal Rights League, nhanimalrights.org. And there's so many cool things coming up
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
this
They seem
group.
very activisty. I love that.
I do too. And I love that it's, animal rights focused and
Oh, it's
they're
totally animal. It's all about the animals. Yeah.
right, but that they have a protest coming up this Saturday, at a puppy store at the Puppy Palace in Manchester, New Hampshire, and, there's been peaceful protests ever since this place opened, which is fantastic. They have other things coming up, protest bull riding, the following week, and there's also some really good-looking vegan recipes on our website that I will not cook, but I will hope that someone cooks for me. And New Hampshire is a funny place because it's a little more conservative than a lot of the neighboring states, at least, or
Yeah. You
like
think of New
New
England
England.
as being very liberal, but New Hampshire
Mhm.
is not. Maine is not. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's just extra cool to see this going on. So rad. Love it. New Hampshire Animal Rights League. Keep doing your thing. The goat conspiracy, we have featured on our show before, and I know that you bring up many times a week that we need to take a trip out here to Bloomington, Indiana, which is where it is. But it's thegoatconspiracy.com, and it started as a goat farm and creamery, but not that long ago, actually transitioned to a sanctuary for goats and chickens. And it's a very cool story. We'll make sure to link to that in our show notes as well. But this is an organization that we think is absolutely incredible, and they have some cool stuff going on right now, including an online auction. So if you're a shopaholic or if you have shopaholic tendencies like I do, then check it out, because they allow you the opportunity to name certain animals for, a bid, which I think is so fun. I mean, I know we've gotten to name animals at sanctuaries before. As someone who doesn't have human children, I greatly enjoy naming my teddy bears and my dogs, and maybe a goat. Who knows? So thegoatconspiracy.com,
Yeah, we
really
have to
great.
get out there sometime. I also have one a new book announcement that we do sometimes. And this is a book by Sangamitra Iyer, or as we know her, Sangu Iyer, who has, of course, been on the podcast, a wonderful activist.
Yeah.
And she has a new book out, which is a beautiful, really beautiful book. I mean, I just love the way the cover looks, which I don't have it around me. Oh, I'm sorry. And it's called Governing Bodies, a memoir, a confluence, a watershed. Sangu is an extraordinary writer. She wrote a piece for us once that is just one of my favorite things. And I'm just going to read a little from the description. A beautifully rendered debut memoir of family, legacy, conservation, the natural world, and those who inhabit it. As a civil engineer, Sangamitra Iyer knows about resilience from studying soils and water. As an animal rights activist, she advocates for a revolution in how we value and relate to other species. And as the child of immigrants from India, she searches for submerged histories. And this is really, it's interesting because this book is written in the first person, and I guess it would be the second person because it's written as kind of letters, or at least conversations with her grandfather, who was an activist with Gandhi, and her father, who was the one who immigrated to the United States with, like, I don't know, less than $1 in his pocket. That story, and who sounds like just an extraordinary person. And the third is to the rest of us. Um, and she's an amazing writer. So I
Yeah,
am really
totally.
looking forward. I'm looking forward to digging into this.
Yeah. She's a phenomenal thinker too, and I've been following Sangu's work for decades, so I love that this book is out there. And I love that you're out there. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this, thank you so much. Our hen house has been operating for almost 16 years now. In January, it will be 16 years. We have released, I don't know how many episodes, more than 860. We're at maybe 877, I think. Wow. And more than 125 episodes of the Animal Law podcast, and we have our end of year fundraising going on right now. So if you believe in the power of pro animal media, and if you're listening to this, and if you are able, please join us by going to ourhenhouse.org/support. We currently have a triple match going on, which means for every dollar you donate, we get $3. So it's a big time of year for us to fundraise, and any dollar that you're able to donate really helps a lot. Tell us about the interview for tomorrow, Mariann.
Yeah, it's our latest interview with people from the Animal Policy Alliance. We've had a whole series of them. And these are really, really inspiring stories of this public policy work that these activists are doing in what is, I think, all of our favorite kind of advocacy, and that is advocating for vegan food, especially for kids, but not just for kids. And the two places that we will be featuring are Minnesota and New Mexico. But this kind of work needs to be done all over the country. So I hope you find it as inspiring as I did.
And thank you so much for listening to our hen house today. We will talk to you next time.